Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Taylor of the Tatey Creations YouTube channel, and today is going to be an old-fashioned book haul. So all of these books were purchased at different times, and I have been patiently waiting to haul them for you guys. I'm so excited about each and every one of these books and to, share them with you. I want to be able to put them on my shelves. If you might have noticed, I know that this looks very similar to my previous background. I did, in fact, move. I've been talking a lot about moving on the channel. I don't have any sort of moving content or anything like that. It was, me and my boyfriend and his family really just helping out, and there's no reason to, stick a camera in somebody's face while we're all sweaty, having to go up and down the stairs all the time. You can watch my book packing video. So that's kind of like going through my physical TBR and all of the books that I, packed up to move here. But that's really all the packing and moving content that you will get from here. I would like to do a bookshelf tour because for the first time I am going to have enough space and bookshelves to show you guys all of the books that I own, and I'm so excited and over the moon to, have that opportunity. Today is just going to be books from a small independent bookstore in Chicago called Exile in Bookville. I found this place in 2021 when I first went to Chicago for work. It was just down the road from the hotel I was staying at, and now every time I go to Chicago, I'm like, I gotta go to this bookstore. It is beautiful. I do have some footage that I will put up here to show you. And then I also went to a used bookstore called Voices. This is in Freeport, Illinois, and Freeport is a pretty small town. The proceeds from this bookstore actually go to survivors of DV, which is really, really cool, and something I always try to, stop by when I'm around there. And then I also stopped at the Books A Million that's in Eau Claire, Wisconsin when I was driving back from Chicago. And I also forgot I did go to a manga shop in Chicago that was near the hotel that I was staying at. I was like, let me just pop in there, see what they have. And then I do have 2 books from Barnes and Noble that I picked up today. My boyfriend and I went to the Mall of America because we had to pick up, he needed a new pair of shoes. We're going to a wedding in October. I actually didn't have anything that was kind of fall wedding appropriate, so got that stuff. Then we stopped at Barnes & Noble because I just finished a book that I knew I had to have a copy of. So that's what's, in here. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for, more reading content, crochet content, lifestyle. We just really have a lot of fun here, and I'm really excited about this new space. This wall is not going to be blank for very long because it is not concrete. I'm going to be putting up a lot of my art behind me, and I'm really excited to show that to you guys. So yeah, let's just hop in. So I'm just gonna kind of grab from the top. I have this really big bag here and it's kind of heavy, so I'm just gonna show you in the way that I can grab things. So this first one is The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. So it includes the Inferno, the Purgatory, and the Paradiso. This one is translated by John Ciardi. And I don't know why, I've just been really drawn to, I guess you could call it, the Christian fanfic classics. So as I don't know if I mentioned on this channel, I was trying to read Paradise Lost. I read some of it, but I did have to stop because my library loan ran out. And if you've tried reading Paradise Lost, it's very thick. So it's an epic poem, similar Dante's Inferno. If you've heard of that, most people know Inferno, but the whole Divine Comedy is actually 3 books, and so it's about the 7 circles of hell. And yeah, it's really funny. I saw this thing recently. So John Milton, who wrote Paradise Lost, was a devout Protestant, and then Dante, who wrote the Divine Comedy, was Catholic, I believe. And I saw this meme that was yo, imagine wanting a tour of hell by your favorite poet, and that's basically just Inferno. That's really funny. So I'm really excited to read this. I don't know why. I've just been drawn to it. I was talking with my assistant coach about it, and she was like, those are much more humanities, kind of looking at life through the lens of Christian interpretation and stuff like that. And that's a really interesting thing to like want to learn about. So yeah, that's what I got that at the Books a Million in Eau Claire, because I was just like, I apparently need this. Next is The Complete Chai Cheese Sweet Home Part 1 by Konanami Kanata. So this is part 1, and so this is just a comic strip, like actual comics is what it's kind of considered to be. So like a lot of, when we say like Japanese comics, it's manga is like the proper term for it, right? But this is, if you notice, like this is how we read books in, you know, Western culture, but these are like comics, Japanese comics. It's just about this little cat and his little adventures. So it's really nothing too crazy, but I just thought that would be so fun. Just like a light little read, maybe like read a couple every day or something. Just read about this cute little quirky cat. So I got this at the manga shop. These next two on top are books that I bought at Barnes & Noble today at the Mall of America. So this first one, I actually finished this book yesterday, and I needed, when I say I needed a copy of this book. This is White Rural Rage, The Threat to American Democracy by Tom Schaller and Paul Waldman. This book is so good. It talks about, you know, how rural America is overrepresented in our government and how they basically don't ask anything of their politicians. They just hate Democrats, essentially, and how they're basically voting against their best interests, and they keep voting in these Republicans who are owned by big corporations that just drain their communities even more, and how these people just get more and more and more angry. And then, you know, the Fox News talking heads say, you need to be mad at the immigrants in your community. You need to be mad at the POC people in your community. You need to be mad at the elite liberals, when really it's their own elected officials that are doing this to them. So it was so good. I was like, I listened to this on audiobook, and I knew that I was going to want to keep a copy of this so that I could, you know, go back and highlight it and just underline and annotate the hell out of this, because I just, definitely one of the best books that I have read this year so far. It was so good. And then this next one, I definitely did not need this. I mean, I don't need any of these books, but I just fell in love with how this book looks. But it is a book that I've been wanting to read. So this is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. So really just like keeping with the train of the like Christian fanfic. So in this flap, it says, in his journal, John Steinbeck called East of Eden the first book. And indeed, it has the primordial power and simplicity of myth. Set in the rich farmland of California's Salinas Valley, this sprawling and often brutal novel follows the intertwined destinies of two families, the Trasks and the Hamiltons, whose generations helplessly reenact the fall of Adam and Eve and the poisonous rivalry of Cain and Abel. Adam Trask came to California from the east to farm and raise his family on the new rich land, but the birth of his twins, Cal and Aaron, brings his wife to the brink of madness, and Adam is left alone to raise his boys to manhood. One boy thrives, nurtured by the love of all those around him. The other grows up in loneliness, enveloped by a mysterious darkness. First published in 1952, East of Eden is the work in which Steinbeck created his most mesmerizing characters and explored his most enduring themes, the mystery of identity, the inexplicability of love, and the murderous consequences of love's absence. A masterpiece of Steinbeck's later years, East of Eden is a powerful and vastly ambitious novel that is at once a family saga and a modern retelling of the Book of Genesis. Like I said, I don't know where this sudden want comes from, but I do think that it's really interesting. And then these next two I got from Exile in Bookville in Chicago. So this first one is Yoko Ogawa, The Diving Pool. 3 novellas with a new introduction, translated by Stephen Snyder. And so Yoko Gawa is the author of The Memory Police, which has been really having a moment in like the popular book circles. I have not read The Memory Police. I do have it on hold at my local library, but I really like short stories. I'm realizing I think I like how you can just explore something in these short little bite-sized things. I think that's why I really like essays too. From Akutagawa prize-winning author Yoko Agawa comes a trio of novellas about love, motherhood, fertility, obsession, and how even the most innocent gestures contain a hairline crack of cruel intent. A lonely teenage girl falls in love with her foster brother as she watches him leap from a high diving board into a pool. A peculiar infatuation that sends unexpected ripples through her life. A young woman records the daily moods of her pregnant sister in a diary, taking meticulous note of a pregnancy that may or may not be a hallucination. But whose hallucination is it? Hers or her sister's? A woman nostalgically visits her old college dormitory on the outskirts of Tokyo, a boarding house run by a mysterious man once implicated in the disappearance of a young boarder. So, like, little guy, just 3 really interesting sounding stories. And I do think that this will be a good introduction to Ogawa's writing, especially since I do want to read The Memory Police. And then the last book, the other book I got from Exile and Bookville it is a book of essays. So this book is Politically Read by Eduardo Cadava and Sarah Nadal Melcio. And obviously this is the Sickle and the Hammer, which is like kind of the communist. Essentially, this book is about how reading is a class struggle, and it includes essays from Karl Marx, Rosa Luxemburg, Walter Benjamin, W.E.B. Du Bois, Frederick Jameson, and others. It casts a light on history as an accumulation of violence, and in doing so suggests that it can become a crucial resource for confronting the present insurgents of inequality, racism, and fascism. So I thought that whatever is in here would be really interesting. This book was actually, it came in like plastic wrap, so I was not able to actually look through this book prior to buying it. So we could say that it was a little bit of a blind buy, just based on the back. I do kind of like the sprayed edges. I like the aesthetic of this book. I think it's really cool. It was published by the MIT Press. On the back says it's a philosophy politics book. So I don't know. I wouldn't like call myself a communist. I just thought, it's a very grabbing cover, we'll call it, So there's that. And then these next books, all of the rest of the books that we're going to see in this video are from the Voices Book Nook in Freeport, Illinois. So I am going to link down below if you would like to donate or just, take a look at their mission statement. So this first one is On Tyranny by 20 Lessons from the 20th Century by Timothy Snyder. I have read this book before. It is just this little pocket guy of 20 lessons about tyranny and how to combat it. If you are not a nonfiction reader, I do recommend reading this. It's so short. Like the audiobook was only 2 hours. That's what I read. And when I saw this, I was like, you know what? Maybe this would be a good reference to just have on hand. And I'm excited to have this in my collection. Next is the autobiography of Malcolm X as told by Alex Haley. So I don't know a ton about Malcolm X. I do feel like as someone who has friends of color and wants to be a better ally to them, this is kind of crucial reading, knowing more. In the searing pages of this classic autobiography, originally published in 1964, Malcolm X, the Muslim leader, firebrand, and anti-integrationist, tells the extraordinary story of his life and the growth of the Black Muslim movement. His fascinating perspective on the lies and limitations of the American dream and inherent racism in a society that denies its non-white citizens the opportunity to dream gives extraordinary insight into the most urgent issues of our own time. The autobiography of Malcolm X stands as the definitive statement of a movement and a man whose work was never completed, but whose message is timeless. It is essential reading for anyone who wants to understand America. Next is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. So I was telling my assistant coach, oh yeah, look at these books I got. And actually all of these books I actually got for $24, which is really cool because they were having their annual 50% off sale. So it was originally $50 for all these books. And then they just were cut that right in half, which was really, really cool. So I really don't know what this book is about. It's set in 1580 and it's about the Black Death, and it's a historical fiction. I was like telling my assistant coach about these books, and she was like, I've heard of Hamnet and I want to read it, but I really don't know anything about it. And I was like, me too. So next is This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I read, what was it, The Great Gatsby in high school, and I actually found Fitzgerald's writing to be very approachable. It says on the back, the story of Amory Blaine, a privileged, aimless, and self-absorbed Princeton student whose journey from prep school to college to the First World War is a prescient account of what Gertrude Stein would later call the lost generation. Fitzgerald memorably describes Amory and his contemporaries as a new generation, grown up to find all gods dead, all wars fought, all faiths in man shaken. An exuberant pastiche of literary styles, this dazzling, virtuistic chronicle of youth remains recognizably relevant today. Was watching a video and someone recommended reading this book, and so that's kind of why I picked this up. Next is another Fitzgerald book, and I feel so stupid about this one. So, you know, I always really prided myself on being one of those people like, oh, I know my collection, I know what I have. I actually already have a copy of Fitzgerald's The Beautiful and Damned. So I feel kind of stupid about buying this. So this is a Signet classic of The Beautiful and the Damned, and I feel a little silly because I already have a copy. But, you know, it is what it is. In the back, it says, hailed as the voice of a new generation, F. Scott Fitzgerald followed up the spectacular success of his first novel, This Side of Paradise, with The Beautiful and Damned. Published in 1922 and set against an era of intoxicating excitement and ruinous excess, changing manners and challenged morals, it is the story of Harvard-educated Anthony Patch and his beautiful, willful wife, Gloria. This scathingly ironic tale tragically mirrored the relationship of Fitzgerald and his own wife, Zelda, from its giddy romantic beginning to its alcohol-fueled demise. A devastating portrait of greed, feckless ambition, and squandered talent, The Beautiful and Damned depict an America embarked on the greatest spree in its history, a world Fitzgerald embraced, even as he attacked its false social values and shallow literary tastes. By turns, this hilarious and heartbreaking, as well as disturbingly prophetic, it remains one of Fitzgerald's best-known works. It's really funny that, like, each classic, it's like, this author's best-known works, and, like, honestly, I don't know when exactly this edition was published. Oh my god, it was $5.95. That's crazy. The fact that we have to read The Great Gatsby in school, I would say that that's probably his most well-known. Doesn't mean that it's his best, but just, you know, people know this the most. And then this one, I am really not doing well with not buying multiple books, I guess. I have turned into... Does this mean I'm officially, like, a book girly? I mean, I've always been a book girly, but, like, a buying book girly. So this is The Divine Comedy of Dante Alighieri, Purgatorio, a verse translation by Alan Mandelbaum. So this is the second book. Yeah, so the first one is The Inferno. This is the second book, The Purgatorio. And I saw this there and I was like, yeah, why not? And how much was it? Oh my god, it was $125. So like maybe 60 cents when they took it off. I don't know. I wanted it. Next is Henry Fielding, Joseph Andrews, and Shyamala. And to be honest with you, I know nothing about these. I just was like, oh, a Penguin classic. Let me have it. From what I understand, it kind of seems similar to Dickens, where it might just kind of be more shallow, more like similar to Dickens in that it's kind of like a commentary on people in their lives. I mean, that's most books, but that's kind of, from reading the back of it, that's kind of what I understood, or at least how I felt, knowing what I know about Dickens. I've only read Great Expectations by him, which I need to read again as an adult because I did not like it when I was 15. This next book is The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. So this is the winner for the National Book Critics Circle Award for Nonfiction. And my boyfriend actually has a copy of this. I bought this because of a TikTok I think it was a TikTok recommendation about just like books, nonfiction books about race. You know, if you want to be a good ally try out these books. So on the back it says, in this epic, beautifully written masterwork, Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkerson chronicles one of the great untold stories of American history, the decades-long migration of Black citizens who fled the South for northern and western cities in search of a better life. From 1915 to 1970, this exodus of almost 6 million people changed the face of America. She interviewed more than 1,000 individuals and gained access to new data and official records to write this definitive and vividly dramatic account of how these American journeys unfolded, altering our cities, our country, and ourselves. And so when I asked my boyfriend, why do you have a copy of this book? He's like, oh, well, one of my students told me that it was really good, so I bought a copy. When I tell you, I love that man so much. Oh my gosh. So honestly, I think we might buddy read this together. And I think that would be kind of cool for us to do. So there's that. This next one, oh my god, I am so happy that I found a copy of this. This is Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. This is a large print version, which honestly, I like a large print. I read this earlier this year, one of the best books I've read. I feel like I say that about every nonfiction, but not all nonfiction is created equal. There are definitely ones that are better than the others, but like this one, and like On Tyranny and White Rural Rage, like they're so good. I listened to this on audiobook and I knew I wanted to have a copy of it. Finding a copy secondhand, even better. So really excited to revisit this in the future, you know, just mark it up, annotate it. This is just talking about poverty in America and about how we as a society kind of demonize it as a moral failing when really it's a government failing, because the government should be taking care of us because we pay taxes for them to do that. And he actually at the end even gives us some recommendations for things that we can do as a society, or, you know, because it really is going to be like governmental reform that is going to help people get out of poverty, and just showing the stats and the real facts versus politicians who just want to tout welfare bad. It's like, actually not. Next is Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. Oh, I didn't realize she also wrote The Warmth of Other Suns. So when this is about the quote-unquote caste system in the United States, and my assistant coach said that she read this and she really, really liked it. And I saw this book when it first came out a couple years ago, and I really, really wanted a copy, but I don't prefer hardbacks, but this is, you know, what the store had, and it was secondhand, so of course that's what I'm gonna get. So I'm happy about that now. And this is also a book about race. Next is a Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Taules. I really don't know what this book is about. I know I talk about my assistant coach a lot. I love her very dearly, and I look up to her as like a mentor and as, you know, someone who is just really, really smart, and I respect her a lot. I asked her once what her favorite books were, and she said that this was one of her favorite books of all time, how it's this beautiful story about a gentleman who literally cannot leave his home, about like he is a part of a prominent family and he gets in trouble, but because of the prominent family, he cannot be like murked, right? So he just has to stay at home, and it's about the beautiful life that he has in his apartment. So I think that this will be really interesting. Anyone that I have, you know, told about this book, or like anyone that I've been like, oh yeah, blah, 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 said to read this, they're like, that's an amazing book. And even my mother knew a few people who were like, this book is amazing. And I'm like, okay, so I guess we gotta, you know, me and my mom gotta catch up. Okay, and this last book is The Divider by Peter Baker and Susan Glasser. Trump in the White House, 2017 to 2021. And then on the back it says, this definitive inside the room account of America's most explosive presidency, Peter Baker and Suzanne Glasser, two of the great reporters of our time, deliver never-before-told stories of Donald J. Trump's 4-year war against Washington, from its inauguration marked by American carnage to the day of violence against democracy at its end. And that's all the books I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Let me know what books you have put into your collection recently, or what you've been reading. I would love to know. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.